Alright man, 8 more epic champions that can do an incredible amount of work for you into Hydra, and are probably worth building out, especially if you pull these suckers in the first 6 months of blasting Raid Shadow Legends. Hey man, the block buffs debuff is one of the most important skills to bring into Hydra. Umbral Enchantress brings the pain with an attack all enemies A2 and a 100% chance of placing block buffs debuff for 3 turns. She's also a void affinity epic, meaning she can't weak hit against the Hydra heads, and so as long as she's got enough accuracy, this block buffs debuff is going to stick. It's going to prevent the Hydra from stealing and spreading all of your buffs. It's going to stop the Hydra from applying the poison cloud buff on itself, which is just devastating if it gets that thing up. Yeah, it's a really key skill to have. And Umbral Enchantress does an amazing job of it as well. She also brings a massive AoE provoke as well on her A3 with some very interesting mechanics around it that I won't go into in this video, but suffice to say, she's a great arena opener as well. So if you're needing some kind of control champ to lead one of your go first, you know, very fast teams in something like Tag Arena, she can do an amazing job for you there as well. Umbral Enchantress, she's sensual, she's glorious, and she's worth maxing. And hey man, as I scoot on over to the Sylvan Watches, so White Dryad Nia is just unbelievable. And honestly, this is one of those champions where until you start actually going up against Hydra and you get to that point in your raid journey where Hydra is the next challenge that you're trying to tackle, you just don't appreciate how good she is. Really, man. Like, I heard so many good things about White Dryad Nia. I was like, yeah, blah, blah, you know. But now that I'm up to Hydra myself, she's insane. She's mental. I would love to have this champ in my roster. Her A1 is an attack all enemies with a swollen, what's this, 45% chance? 50%, I guess, with masteries as well, if you want to really max her out. 50% chance of placing AoE decrease speed debuff for 2 turns. That's just the A1. Crazy as hell. The A2, man, this is one of those skills that really gets stronger in super long fights like Hydra, where you're just getting the skill off, you know, 100 times throughout the fight. So remove all debuffs from a target ally, a little bit of debuff peel, then heals them by 40% if they're max HP. If the target of this skill is not White Dryad Nia, decrease the cooldown of all of the target skills by 2 turns. This is crazy as hell. This is nuts on anything like any of your provokers or control champs that are applying debuffs to the Hydra heads. It's especially crazy on your nukers, right? Just reduce all of their cooldowns and just get them pumping damage like an absolute madman, or madwoman, I suppose. Don't discriminate over here. And it's on a 310 cooldown. It's crazy as hell. Yeah, the value of this skill in a longer fight especially really cannot be overstated. Now, what else does White Dryad Nia bring? She's not just a one-trick pony. I was just checking that she didn't have hooves there real quick. You never know with these Sylvan Watches sometimes. Could have made a happy little pony pun there. But on the A3, place a strong ally protection buff on all allies except White Dryad Nia for 2 turns, and also place the weak version, albeit, but still a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns as well. Ally protect, yeah, just build her to be tanky, build her to be strong, and she's going to soak up a crap load of damage for your team. That's it. That's White Dryad Nia, one of the craziest defense-based as well, man. So she's very tanky, quite survivable, but just one of the best sort of epic support-based champs that you can possibly bring into Hydra, just to really get the most out of a solid Hydra team. She's a good egg. Next up, we've got an epic champ that I wouldn't necessarily recommend you just max out specifically for Hydra, but if you do have an Anchorite and you use him in something like a Wixwell clan boss team, and so you're getting good use out of him in other areas of the game, he can do a decent job for you into Hydra as well. And I think amongst the epic champs, he's probably worth a mention, although he's not as going to be as high priority as something like a White Dryad Nia, for example. His A1 is an attack all enemies, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of the damage inflicted, which is fine as far as A1s go. On the A2, he's got that all-important debuff peel. Very crucial to get those provokes and those anti-heal debuffs and the true fears off of you, right, that the Hydra heads are applying all the time. Then increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. That part of the A2 is especially valuable. People don't realize. Again, it's sort of hard to sort of quantify just how good it is to increase the duration of allied buffs until you've got a guy like this in your team that's actually doing the thing, right? And then it feels really good. It's on a 310 cooldown, great stuff. And then on the A3, fully heal a target ally, then place an increased crit rate buff and increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. We're obviously mostly interested in the increased crit damage buff here for your nukers and your damage dealers. It's great, it's just a nice little bonus to have, with a little bit of healing as well, I guess, thrown in for a bonus. That's Anchorite. Is he amazing at a Hydra? He's probably like a 3.5 or a 4-star out of 5. into Hydra, right? But I think that he's worth a consideration in a video like this. Next up, we've got, actually not Rector, but you know what, man? It's promo link time. If you're looking to start up a new Raid Shadow Legends account, then use my promo link down below, man. At the top of the video description box, it's the best new way to start your new Raid account, man. 2 free epic champions in the form of Tagore and Rector to help get you off to an incredible start on your new account. Just make sure that you're logged out of Plarium Player, man, before you click on that link to create a new account. Yeah, to ensure that you get a fresh new Plarium ID and all of that stuff and get your hands on the rewards. The next champ we're actually going to be covering is going to be Ostrox Boneglyph. Dude, this guy. This is another one of those nerds that just brings so much utility. On the A1, he has a 100% chance booked of transferring 1 random debuff from this champion to the target, which is great. Also heals the ally with the lowest HP by 10% of the max HP. That's also just a nice little addition. But so he's peeling debuffs off of himself, a little bit of healing, good stuff. On the A2, it's an attack all enemies. And honestly, we're just going to read the second part because this applies to Hydra. If 4 or more enemies are alive, which 4 Hydra heads are always alive, has a 100% chance of placing a block buff, debuff on each enemy for 3 turns. Dude, this is bookable down to a 310 cooldown as well. Very good, very consistent and reliable. Again, he's a void epic, so he can't weak hit. Yeah, it's just a perfect skill to bring into Hydra and just a key ingredient to a lot of Hydra teams. And then on the A3, remove 1 random debuff from all allies. Great. Then place an increased accuracy buff on them for 2 turns. Strong version. Now this is on a 410 cooldown. Honestly, if this was on like a 310 cooldown, he'd probably be a legendary. His kit is just that good. So yeah, it's understandable he can't spam this out too much. He's not a super reliable debuff remover, but he brings a little bit of that action to his kit, albeit on a 410. Ostrox Boneglyph, awesome. Love his character design as well, by the way. Oh my god. Some undead like Sphinx, crocodile-ish action going. Although it looks like in life he had wings. What was he? Put it in the comments down below in life. Next up, we've got Ugo. I'm not going to cover Ugo too long because, frankly, multiple videos on this channel recently have been about Ugo. So Ugo brings a leech on the A1, which is just nice to have. Decreased defense and block buffs debuff, all wrapped into one in an attack all enemies on the A2. Very key debuffs to be bringing on a 310 cooldown bucked. Yeah, just amazing stuff. And then also brings, similar to Ostrox actually, brings a little bit of debuff removal as well as a heal on a 410 cooldown on the A3. Yeah, Ugo's great. Oh yeah, also if Ugo's the last champion alive on your team and then uses the A3, it revives all dead allies. So that's also good for like a final hurrah, I guess. Not super useful into Hydra, to be honest, from what I've seen so far, but, well, there you go. Blasting through these now, man, we've got good old Kafru on the Undead Hordes faction, returning to the Undead Hordes, man. Another Void epic for the Undead Hordes. A1, attacks 1 enemy, chance of transferring 1 random debuff from this champion to the target, so very similar to Ostrox in that sense. But dude, Kafru's kit is real interesting. So on the A2, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, removes 1 random debuff from all allies. Damage increases for each debuff removed. Also heals each ally by 10% of this champion's max HP if a debuff was removed from them. Nice, okay, just a good little extra blob of healing. It's bookable down to a 310 cooldown, so it's quite reliable debuff removal. Pretty nice to have on the team, but I think what really sets Kafru apart from other epics on this list is his taunt ability on his A3. Place an unkillable buff on this champ for 1 turn and a taunt buff on them for 2 turns. Why is taunt so good? Why is it so noteworthy into Hydra? Well, when you get that little green debuff above one of your champion's heads and it's got like a little countdown going on it, as soon as that countdown expires, the Hydras are going to swallow that champion, right? They're going to devour that champion. Then you're going to like beat the champion out of the Hydra, right? Except if you have a champion like Kafru on your team that has a taunt buff, you can pop the taunt like 1 turn before that champion is about to be swallowed by the Hydra, and the Hydra, like they just won't be able to swallow them. That's it. The timer will just reset on somebody else. They'll just miss the opportunity to attack through the taunt and swallow somebody. They can't attack through the taunt, right? Kafru just soaks up the hit and the Hydra will devour nobody. Very good skill to have, and I believe Kafru might be the only epic champ in the game, and maybe only one of 3 champs in the game total that actually has a taunt skill. So yeah, very unique guy. Brings some really cool stuff. Next up, and this one's going to be a little bit controversial, not because people don't love Duck the Pierced. Everybody loves Duck the Pierced. I mean, look at the guy, right? Thing is with Duck the Pierced is that, you know, you get a lot of these beginner style champions, the likes of like Tyrell and stuff like that, and Duck the Pierced is one of them as well, where they're kind of like 4-star champions into everything because their kit is just so versatile, right? Duck the Pierced has an attack all enemies on his A2, for example, that has a 100% chance booked on a 310 cooldown of placing both strong decrease attack and strong decrease defense. Two very key debuffs. Very useful into all areas of the game. But when you compare Duck the Pierced to other, like, more beginner-style champs, Stag Knight, stuff like that, Tyrell, you know, those champs tend to fall off a little bit as you sort of approach Hydra, whereas I feel like Duck the Pierced lasts that little bit longer because he has that place a provoke debuff effect going on his A3. And so maybe I'm crazy as hell, but I feel like, okay, it's on a 410 cooldown, it's only a 110 provoke. So it's not like the most reliable, but it's a good backup provoke to have on a potential super early game Hydra team where you're just trying to get started on normal mode Hydra for the first time, and maybe your provoker legendary champ isn't fully booked up or something, and they have a chance to like miss their provoke. Duck the Pierced can sort of step in and sort of rescue you on those situations where the provoke doesn't land. Is he actually really good into Hydra? Look, probably not, right? But you know what? I want to throw him in the list anyway for just a little bit of variety. Put him at like a 3-star out of 5 when it comes into Hydra. At the end of the day, when you find a more reliable provoker, he's probably going to lose out his place to somebody else as your account develops and stuff. But you know what? I thought I'd throw him in there anyway, because maybe some of you guys do have yourself a Duck the Pierced and not engage in Hydra just yet. And finally, a champ I pulled very recently myself, indeed, is good old Oboro. Dudes, this champ is crazy as hell. A1, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance booked of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Not bad, right? Except will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs, which, as long as your Hydra team has some debuffs going for them, isn't too hard to pull off, and so this becomes an attack all very consistently, man, applying widespread decreased defense and honestly slapping for a lot of damage as well. The A2 is a double hitter that has a chance of transferring debuffs from this champ to the target, and the first hit, or rather if you're under a Veil or Perfect Veil buff, you can actually steal enemy buffs as well, so that's interesting enough. But the A3 is where Oboro really comes into her own. Place an increased crit rate buff and increased crit damage buff on this champ for 2 turns, then attack one enemy. Place a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack is critical. So you can build her with 70% crit, you can then build her with a crap load of resistance, and because she's getting all of these extra buffs that your team is not getting, it means that the Head of Mischief will always attack into Oboro, right? Because the Head of Mischief always attacks the champ with the most buffs. And so what that means is you can use Oboro to just tank the Head of Mischief and make it so that the Head of Mischief isn't systematically kind of attacking one champ here and one champ there and stealing all of the buffs from that champ and stealing all of the buffs from that champ, you know? Oboro just kind of will soak all of that aggro as long as she's tanky enough and built with enough resistance. And of course, because of her A1, she's going to be helping out with a good amount of damage anyway, you know? So she's an interesting build, one I'm very much looking to try out myself, and is absolutely worth a mention on this happy little list. Where's her Hydra rating? If she's not a 4.9, 4.7. Man, people crazy as hell. Anyway, man, that's all for the part 2 of best epic champs into Hydra that we're going to be covering here today. Remember, make sure to use my promo link if you're going to start off a new Raid Shadow Legends account. It helps to support the channel a crap load, and that is linked down below at the top of the video description. Enjoy your rest of your day. God damn it. Make sure to put down in the comments below any champs that you feel I've missed off of these top Hydra champs lists recently. And yeah, I'm going to catch all of you all just a tad bit later, Ben.